I recently beat Ghost Trick Phantom Detective upon reading really strong recommendations, and I'm glad I did. It was fantastic. The game ended up being one of the most well-constructed adventure games I've ever played, despite issues I had with two puzzles in particular, and I wanted to share my joy for this game. But instead of doing a traditional review, I wanted to focus on how much I really loved the first two chapters. These two chapters really got me fully on board more than anything else in the universe I've heard or read about this game, and I wanted to talk about why. In case of this happens to be your first exposure to the game, I take care to not spoil specifics that happen after the first two chapters, though I obviously do spoil details about the first two chapters of the game. If that is a concern, please go play the first two chapters, which you can actually do completely for free right now using the demo that's available on Steam, Xbox, PS4, and Switch at the time of this video's publication. Also, if this is interesting or helpful, please like and subscribe. With all that said, I'll talk about what I loved about each of the first two chapters. With the first chapter, I loved how efficiently and clearly it set up the game's strange universe and its rules. It let you know in pretty clear language you are dead, you don't know who you are, and you can use ghost powers to manipulate the environment. It uses the amnesia trope, which I'm usually not a fan of in games. But it works well here because it sets you up as a detective of sorts investigating your own identity. Then it has someone with possible answers to this die in front of you, and then a talking lamp informs you of your power to visit the time before her death in order to save her. A lot gets explained to you in the first few minutes of the game, but it still works well because instead of dwelling, you are immediately thrust into the ability to take immediate action so you can save her life, and that makes it easier to table these pressing questions, which helps spread out the answers to all of this. And sure enough, you time travel and save her. Your reward is some answers, but these answers also generate additional questions that serve as a quick lead into the second chapter as the story continues to flow. With the second chapter, the game already assumes that you've absorbed the key concepts it needs you to have learned. No re-explanations. The game has you make peace with you being a ghost with inconvenient amnesia and the convenient power to save lives. After a quick prologue, you are called upon to save another life with time-traveling spirit powers, except this time you are to save a dog. But as a really pleasant surprise, once you connect to this dog's spirit, this dog can more or less talk to you. Now, it's a little more complicated. The dog's not actually talking. It's actually connecting to your spirit and you're reading its thoughts. But for the purposes of this YouTube video, I'm just going to use the phrase talk. This is a talking dog named Missile, and he was this game's ambassador for me that made me buy into the game really quickly by adding a much needed sense of humor to it and levity, while also introducing this game to be a universe where at least one animal, Missile, is sentient and can speak to if connected to using spirit powers. And the game throws you into a more complicated puzzle, which introduces you to other characters, with Missile adding a lot of humor to the whole deal. And you solve the puzzle and Missile's life is spared, and you get a few more threads by eavesdropping on a phone call while setting up a clear link to other chapters. I loved how efficient it all was and how it continued to roll out information slow while sneaking in more characters, continuing to add more threads, and having sort of this give and take where it answers some questions but not everything, while also giving additional threads and creating a larger arc where almost every detail has later on in the game without spoiling anything more. But it all builds up while assuming the player is able to keep up with the core details needed, and it also adds a lot of weird humor to just keep everything all the more engaging. In summary, I loved how these two chapters really set things up at a great pace while introducing me to the bizarre universe of Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Hopefully this was helpful or interesting. Please like and subscribe if so, and leave suggestions if you want deeper dives into other games.